So fear and stress and anxiety, they're complicated issues, right? Because on the one hand, it's fear that wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and has you in a bit of a cold sweat. But what's ironic is that the way you grow, the way you expand your capacity is actually through experiencing stress and experiencing anxiety. I read recently Pema Chodron saying fear was when reality started to reveal itself. So how do you manage fear and anxiety? How do you kind of keep that in check so you get the best of what that can bring you without being limited or shut down by that? Well, I've got 3 ways to think about it that might be useful for you. The first is this. I just say, what's really at play here? What's really going on? What's the data here? What do I know to be true? Because often the cloud of fear, the cloud of anxiety has at its core a very, very small amount of data, and then around it a whole amount of judgment and made up stuff that we're assuming about the data. As you understand where your judgments are in this, it's worth understanding the process of catastrophization. Catastrophization is when you start imagining the worst things that could possibly happen. So you make an error on the report that you're writing for your boss, and you think to yourself, oh, my boss is going to be unhappy because I've made an error, and then she's going to call me in and she's probably going to tell me off. In fact, she's not just going to tell me off, she's going to fire me. And in fact, if she fires me, I'll never get another job again because, I'm basically unemployable. And if I don't get a job again, I won't be able to afford the mortgage, so I'm going to lose the house. And of course, the wife will leave me, take the kids with them, so I'll be all alone. And of course, if I'm all alone, I'm going to start drinking, and I probably have that gene for alcoholism, so I'm going to start becoming an alcoholic instantly. And you know what, before I know it, I'm going to be in the gutter, seeing my life ebb away. So it's useful to understand in yourself, do I have catastrophization playing out here in terms of how I'm imagining things? And again, this idea of looping back to what's the data can be extremely powerful. So the second thing that I would point to you in terms of how to manage fear, how to manage anxiety, is actually to ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Now, this is a tough thing to do, at least it is for me. I find this whole feeling thing really tricky, but annoyingly in some ways. I've read the research and it says this, but it's a paradox. The ability to feel allows you to be more rational. And one of the things that I try and do, and again, I struggle with this myself, but it may be powerful for you, is actually ask myself, where am I feeling this in my body right now? Sometimes it's in my chest, sometimes it's in my stomach, sometimes it may be in my shoulders, sometimes I feel it in my jaw. But locate where that sense of anxiety, that uncertainty is, and see if you can actually be present with it. It kind of changes, it dissolves, it evolves, it becomes something different. There's just so much research now that says, if there was a silver bullet out there about how to be calmer, happier, smarter, better with people around you, it's by finding time to do a little bit of meditation. The third piece I talked to you about in terms of managing your fear, managing anxiety, is a simple one. I think I first came across this through the Stephen Covey book, 7 Habits of Successful People. Do you understand what you can control? The distinction is, what can you control, what can you influence, and what you can neither control nor influence. I think it was an American US professional football player talking about this, and he goes, look, I don't feel anxiety, I don't feel stress, because if I can't control it, there's nothing I can do about it, so I let it go. And if I can control it, then I'm going to control it. I'm going to bring my full attention to that. And what I find that even if you know this distinction about what you can control and what you can influence, we don't tend to bring it to the forefront. So if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling anxiety at the moment, look at what's going on. Look at the data. Look at how you're feeling. Look at what you can control about the situation, what you can influence about the situation, and what's beyond control and beyond influence, and act accordingly. And I think if you use those 3 strategies, that's a way of using stress, using anxiety, using fear, which often shows up when you're doing great work, so that rather than shutting you down, rather than diminishing you, it can be the stepping stone for you to expand your own capacity, expand your own potential, and enable you to do more great work. As soon as you hit that subscribe button, your EQ and your IQ increases by at least 20 points. So hit that subscribe button now.